Hey everybody, it's another weekend, and that means another journey around town in search of Stephen King items. This weekend we are at an antique mall that has all kinds of cool stuff. It's one of my very favorite types of places to go, but it also has a booth that sells books.
I got a trophy there.
Yeah, even trophies. They even sell trophies. I think the trophy we picked up was a most spares in the Women's Christian Bowling League of like 1992.
I think so.
But it was really shiny. So it's pretty cool. But anyway, there's a booth here that has books, and they specialize in Stephen King books. So let's see what they've got. All right, here's the book booth right out of the gate. Trade paperback of the Bachman books. Looks like it's in good shape, but 85 bucks. That is pretty steep for that. But considering it includes Rage, it is pretty valuable, even in the paperback state. But 85 bucks, wow. This is cool. It's an unwrapped. I'm assuming it's never been unwrapped. Maybe it's been rewrapped. 45 bucks for On Writing and Secret Windows. These initially did come packaged together, so that's pretty cool. A copy of On Writing. I always am intrigued by books that are covered because it implies that whoever owned it previously took good care of it. It's not a first edition though. 12 bucks. Not one that I need. It's a decent price, but I will pass today. More Dark Tower stuff. Very cool. I appreciate this seller because they routinely shelve things in chronological order. Oh, and that's a nice touch too. We're gonna have some collections together. He's obviously a fan and a knowledgeable Stephen King collector. So I can already tell, I mean, if these weren't book club editions, they would be in the locking cabinet. But still pretty cool. Bit of fading on the spine of that, which is pretty typical. But even though it's a book club edition, it features the original wraparound dust jacket artwork. Book club edition, 30 bucks. It seems like a fair price. And the nice thing about these is that they're the same size as the first edition, so they make really good shelf placeholders. Really nice colors on that jacket. Book club edition, 20 bucks. It's got some staining, some issues, but not too bad. And that's a decent price, I would say. For a jacket in that shape, you could cover that, put it on the shelf, and it would look pretty decent. I'm gonna check the gutter code if I can. G33. That's interesting. G33. That's odd. And in The Shining, check that gutter code. W15. That makes more sense. This would have been from the late 70s, early 80s. But that G, the G gutter coat on Salem's Lot is very strange to me. Stand, complete and uncut. Very interesting. Not a first edition, I can tell because of the cover. No price. 20 bucks. It looks like it has a cloth, quarter cloth binding. So it's pretty nice. It's a fair price. That's one thing I like about this person's booth, is that they do have fair prices. Fire starter. Oh, what do we have here? Oh, price clipped. That's no good. Second, 30 bucks. Second printing. Yeah, you can tell there's the number line. Lowest number is 2. Second printing. The first printing would have no number line. But regardless, the clip jacket is kind of a deal breaker for me, even if it was a first. It looks pretty nice though. Would make a nice addition to somebody's collection. Let's see. Cujo unpriced jacket. Another kind of book club edition. But, again, still has the quarter cloth binding. Like the first. Which is really interesting. I'm going to check out the copyright page on this and see what I might be able to see. Now that's really interesting. I'm assuming it's a book club edition of some kind, because it doesn't have a price jacket, but the copyright page looks very convincingly like a first. Very, very interesting. It's a little dirty. That could be cleaned up. 24 bucks. I have to set this one aside and look more closely at it, because if that's a first edition book inside some kind of book club edition jacket, which did sometimes happen, it might be an upgrade, but I'll come back to that, think more about it. Christine is shorter than it should be. Book club edition. Cycle of the Werewolf. Trade paperback. Oh, 30 bucks. First edition. 30 bucks I think is pretty high for that. But it is a first. Interesting. Talisman. First edition, 20 bucks. $18.95 price. Got some pretty major fading, oddly, on the cover and not on the spine where you normally see it. You know, overall that's, oh, I didn't notice that. Some pretty bad foxing there. What do we have here? $22.95 price. Gray end papers. Sixth printing. So it looks like a first edition. You come to the copyright page and it very clearly states 6th printing. So not a first, but 25 bucks. Jacket has some tape on it, but I mean it's a big old book. It's heavy. It's hard to find in really nice shape. There's an Eyes of the Dragon with the scales. Really bad fade on the spine. Price intact. So this is a first edition. 18 bucks. You know, 18 bucks for that, I think, is a fair price. It's not going to appeal to a lot of people, but for what it is, 18 bucks for a first edition of Eyes of the Dragon. When we start to enter the territory of more common stuff. Misery, 12 bucks, book club edition, but also again, kind of like Cujo, has the quarter cloth binding. That could be worth looking a little bit more at. The two variants of the Insomnia jacket, very cool to see next to each other. White on red and red on white. I don't need either of those, but they are cool to see side by side. And then we get into far more common stuff. $11.22.63. I have a first, but it has an ad on the front of the jacket, which I don't know if that actually means it's not a first, but it's not an ad, but it's like, it says something like featured on the New York Times bestseller list. And so I've always had my eye out for a copy, a first that doesn't have that. Well, heck, first edition marked down from 35 bucks to 12 bucks. Jacket's in decent shape, even if the book is not an upgrade. Very interesting. Yep, I'll think more about that too. Dr. Sleep, the Gwendy series, Billy Summers, and even Fairy Tale. It's pretty up-to-date stuff. And then we come down here. Bill Hodges trilogy, very nice. Blaze, thinner, definitely a book club edition. Night Shift, book club edition. Different Seasons, first edition, 35 bucks. But here is the $1 million question. It has gold lettering on the spine. So it could be the other variant that I'm missing. So mine has blue lettering. 35 bucks. Very, very interesting. Definitely worth coming back to that one. Skeleton Crew, book club edition, some kind, 10 bucks. Well, Storm of the Century, Book of the Month Club hardcover edition, pretty interesting. It has a quarter cloth binding. I'm not exactly sure if mine does or not. The first edition was the trade paperback, but this is an interesting alternative to have. Moving on down the list, some Peter Stroud, Dean Koontz, Anne Rice, and then onward and around the bend. This booth has a little bit of everything, but I'm going to take a deeper look at some of those books that jumped out at me, and I will be back and let you know what I pick up. A deeper look at this copy of Misery. On the copyright page, I see second printing June 1987. I've never actually seen a copy that had that language on it, but that sort of answers the question. Second printing, and it doesn't have a price jacket. So some kind of book club jacket with a second printing book. Very interesting. Still decent for 12 bucks, but that kind of answers the question of what in the world I was looking at.
Not like it.
Okay, and here's another booth with a locking cabinet, and that's a UK first of Skeleton Crew for 35 bucks. The tag looks very similar. It might be the same seller. That's interesting though. Let's try to get a peek at the top. Looks to be in decent shape. It's not one that I need for my collection, and I don't know if I would ask for the key to get into that cabinet, but it looks like it's in decent shape. 35 bucks seems like a fair price. Another cabinet in another booth that has some more Stephen King. Pretty common stuff. I don't think I'm gonna ask to open that or dig around in it, but actually the case is pretty dang nice. 4-section stacking bookcase, $875. Definitely not in the market for that today, but man, that is cool looking. Okay, well, of all the things that I saw in there, I decided to get one thing. First edition of Different Seasons. The jacket has some issues. It seemed like it was fairly priced, but it wasn't just a killer deal. But most importantly, it has the gold lettering on the spine. So now I have both variants, and I'm pretty pleased with that. So yeah, there you go. Another weekend, another Stephen King find.